Okay, here's my two audience members, my mom and my dad. Okay. Hello, my name is Lillian Simpson. I'm an art education major here at Tennessee Tech, and today I'm going to give you an idea of kind of what value is and how to create a value scale. The techniques I will go over are shading, scumbling, crosshatching, and stippling. So first of all, what is value? So value is how dark or light something appears. It's used to create the illusion of depth in an artwork. It's one of the 7 elements of art, which are basically the building blocks that artists use to create an artwork. So to illustrate the concept of value, I'm going to show you how to draw a value scale. The New York Times says values are best understood when visualized as a scale or gradient from dark to light. So a value scale is a way of organizing values from light to dark. I have an example here of one. So here are some of the materials you will need. You'll need a graphite pencil, a number 2 wooden pencil, or like an HB pencil will do, an eraser, a kneaded eraser or a white eraser, a ruler, a piece of paper, and a pen. Okay, the first step is to set up your scales. So you're going to draw 4 long rectangles and section them into 9 boxes each and label the boxes 1 to 9. So we have the example here. I've labeled them shading, cross-hatching, scumbling, and stippling. So the first technique that I'm going to go over is shading. So the first step is to leave the first box blank and completely shade in the 9th box using the side of your pencil like you're coloring in a coloring page. So it should look like this. And then the second step is to look at box 5 and shade it in what you think a 50-50 mix of your box 1 and your box 9 would look like to give you this middle tone. And then from then you're going to shade in your values from left to right, gradually getting darker. The 2 that are next to each other should look very similar with just like a slight difference. So your values will slowly make their way to being dark. Okay, so the next technique is cross-hatching. Cross-hatching, we're gonna do the same steps as shading, leaving the first box blank and completely filling in the 9th box, but this time using a cross-hatching mark, which is drawing basically X's over and over. So you're going to do a diagonal line each way, but the value will depend on how close your lines are to each other. So for the 50-50 mix, you're going to do that on 5 and then add your values in from light to dark. But as you can see, my light value, the lines are further apart, and in my darkest value, they're right next to each other and there's no white space in between. So next is scumbling. Scumbling, you're going to follow the same steps, leave your first box blank and your last box completely filled in, and your 5th box is the 50-50 mix, but you're going to use a scumbling mark, which is a circular kind of like a looping mark. You're kind of going to do like a looping motion with your wrist, and the value will depend on how much your loops overlap. So here in my 9th box, they completely overlap and there's very little white paper left, but on my number 2 down here, there's a lot of like, you can see the paper in between the marks more. So our last technique is stippling. So you're going to follow the same rules of leaving your first box blank and your 9th box completely filled in, and your 5th box is the 50-50 mix, but you're going to create value only using points now. So the value will depend on how many points you place and how close they are together. So in my 9th box, my points are very close together. There's barely any space in between them, and I have a lot of points placed. But in my 5th box, I have less points placed and more space in between. And so the points get closer together and more points are placed as you gradient towards the darkest value. So this is what your finished product should look like, and you can use this when looking at other people's works, trying to identify the values in their artwork, or when you make your own drawing, trying to create the illusion of depth. And so thank you for listening. And here are my sources, and all the images are taken by me personally, and all the artwork is mine. And then I'm going to show you my audience members again to make sure that they listen. Here you go.